So the proximity card got more resource rhetoric coming right on. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense Logic Reason. And as always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. So the proximity card is an example of end result thinking. And of course, this is black folks looking to find any disparity in society that they don't like and assuming that it's happened because of racism without telling us exactly how and why it's happening. But the proximity card is something that I haven't made a video on in quite a while, but you're bound to run into this with these race officers, using all the excuses for, to all the excuses they can to justify whatever they can, black folks' negative behavior. But anyway, anytime, black folks start crying about, blacks being killed by a police officer, they'll take it to the street, they'll cry about police brutality, police are just gunning black folks down in the street, and we say, well, actually that's not true, and a black person is much more likely to be killed by hands of another black person than a police officer. And so this idea that blacks are just being killed by police officers is ridiculous. But their response to that would be, well, that's because they're around each other. We've heard that before. In other words, they're in proximity to each other. So, and they'll say, well, you commit crimes against people that you're around. And to that end, I agree 100%. You will commit crimes against people who you're around. I agree with all that. So they get no argument about that for me because it is true. And as a conservative, I can acknowledge something that's true. However, here's the problem with that argument. Just because you're around somebody doesn't mean that you have to commit mass crime. Okay? That does not mean because that you have to be 13% of the population and responsible for half the murders. Okay? More than half the murders, right? More than half of all violent crime is committed by black people. Okay? That's not a symptom of being around somebody, because then if that were the case, black folks wouldn't be 13% of the population and responsible for more than half of the murders, because every other race or group of people would be committing murders at just as high a rate as black people are, because they're just simply around it. But then if that was, like I said, if that were the case, then black people, we wouldn't be committing more murders and more violent crime as 13% of the population than the other 87% of the population combined. So you cannot use proximity to explain that away. That makes zero sense. Also, one thing that they always like to ignore is the fact that police officers are also in proximity to black people. Those same cases that they're always crying about, the police officers were around them, right? They cry about Breonna Taylor. Well, the police were around Breonna Taylor. Obviously, if they had a search warrant for her and they approach her property, they're around them, right? They talk about Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot. Well, the police officer was around him. If he tried to hit Officer Darren Wilson in the face, he hit him in the face and tried to take his gun, obviously you're around him, right? George Floyd. They talk about Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin was around him. We have the video of 4 cops that was laying on him or restraining him. They claim that a knee was on the neck. Well, the knee wasn't on the neck. This took place in St. Louis. Well, his knee wasn't on his neck from Miami. They were around him. And all the other cases, Philando Castile, we have talking about Alton Sterling and Baton Rouge, all of these cases, the police officers were around him. So then why is it that same proximity card doesn't go for cops? It can't be proximity only when it's convenient for you. If you're going to use a proximity card, then you're going to use it all the time, and you're not going to pick and choose when it's used. So anytime you ever hear any one of these race hustlers who are always crying about police brutality, police this, and you hear them say, well, black folks could commit crimes against each other because they're around each other, well then You let them know, hey, well, the police officer's around them, and I don't want to hear any excuses then. Or when they try to cry about what a police officer did, you could just simply say, hey, the police officer was around them, and they can't really argue against it because the police officers are around them. And not only are police officers around black people, but they're around black people committing violent crime, mass murders, and mass violent crime. So, like I said, if you ever hear any of these race officers pull a proximity card, well, now you know, and know it's have the battle. And as always, y'all, until next time.